Good morning, Eileen. How are you today?
I'm grand, a bit tired. I had a bit of a late night, but I'm good.
Well, I was really looking forward to coming on and having a chat with you because I just love communicating with you. I was thinking of this the other day because I was reminded of something my own mother used to say. I was looking at the laundry, and I needed to get the laundry from the washing machine to the line. And I actually found myself starting to think, why does nobody else see that that's where the laundry needs to go? And my mother used to often say to people when she'd be asking us to do jobs at home, she'd say, "You don't need to be asked. Surely you shouldn't need to be asked." And this came back to me, and I thought, well, actually, maybe they do need to be asked. Maybe I need to
Mm.
communicate
Yeah, because
directly.
what's coming to my mind, if you don't communicate to them, are they able to read it in your body language or on there? You see in the washing machine, oh, washing has to be put, whatever, and you're
I'm just thinking, Eileen, as you say that, I was just visualizing myself. And I would say this happens to so many people that you just go and get the laundry basket full of wet laundry and plonk it in the middle of the floor and look at it and then look at the person and then look at it and still nothing happens. I
yeah. What's coming to my mind there, I don't know who said the quote, is the most important thing about communication is to hear what isn't been said. So I wonder, do your kids hear what isn't been said?
Yeah, but I would say that this is a hot topic now during this time because coming out of lockdown, I'm sure many people out there were challenged, severely challenged during that time to more clearly communicate their needs. I know it happened in our own house, and even just being more careful about communication too, because we were all together and had to be
Mm.
together and loved being together. But of course, at times tensions can get high, so you have to know how to navigate all of that. But it is so important, isn't it, to be able to clearly communicate your needs and also what you want, because people just can't read your mind.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a few things coming to my mind. One thing is coming to my mind, Siobhan. Do you remember the last day we met? I had a rough. I think we both had a rough week. Do you remember that?
Mm.
But it was to be able to have a conversation around it. We had planned to do the devil and all that day, if you remember.
Yeah,
But it was able to say, I'm wrecked.
yeah.
I'm not up to this.
Mm.
But how often do we not say it but still feel it?
Yeah.
I think we can say it to each other now. We know each other fairly well and can say it, but there's so often that I'm even thinking of something else to me, and it's one of my friends, well, a friend, he's somebody from college, and when I send a message or a text, if he doesn't respond, I immediately am so fed up and irked by it. But I don't say it. I will just kind of usually withdraw and just say, listen, he can go off on his own.
Mm.
But I know that what I need to do with him is have that conversation and say, when I reach out to you about such and such a thing, I find it very difficult when I don't get a response. But I think the important thing in that is to use I language. Instead of saying, you never replied to my message and it hurts me, to say, I feel when this happens, and using I language. If you think, Siobhan, if I was to say it to you now, it's not as attacking or blaming if I'm using I.
Yeah, I can see that clearly. Yeah, that's really true. And
Mm.
our I heard this saying, I think it was last week, and it really made me think. It said that a lot of something to the effect that a lot of our grief, not extreme grief, but a lot of
Mm.
our discomfort and annoyance and frustration with other people is caused by our expectations. It's
Yeah.
expecting that other people can read our body language or read our mind if we don't clearly communicate. And we can invent so many different scenarios in our heads about somebody else that actually aren't true. They're just stories that are running in our heads. So what this saying was referring to was, instead of having expectations, to try and drop the expectations, clearly communicate, and just be kind. Be kind, because that'll benefit you and the other person.
And do you know what I'm thinking of, Siobhan? I just listened to a podcast. I'm really embracing Brené Brown's Unlocking Us podcast. And there's a really good one, and it's by Richard Kessler, and he wrote a book on grief and grieving with Elizabeth Kubler, who is very famous in that whole area. But he talks about an area that I worked in for a long time, which was sick children. They used to always say so many of the parents, their marriage breaks down when the child is really sick or when a child passes. But what he was saying, people think it's the grief that broke them up. But what he says is that we all grieve differently. We all communicate. We all have different needs. But it's when, say, my needs or my grief isn't meeting grieving. Like we say, one partner may cope by going out and going for an hour, whereas the other partner might want to be at home and cry. And when we can't grieve for our needs, that's what causes the problem. It was very profound. It really impacted me listening to it.
Yeah, I can. So I think there's going to be a lot of very different emotions that people have experienced during lockdown, and I imagine there will have been communication difficulties. Was it George Bernard Shaw, I think, that said the greatest what is it, challenge with communication or something? Oh no, the greatest misconception about communication is the illusion that it's happened in the first place. So it's like when we think we have communicated our needs, and just expect, going back again to expectations, we're expecting that somebody else would pick up what we said, and not only that, but maybe miraculously do exactly what we want them to do, even though they don't know what we want them to do because we never said it in the first place.
Like you and the washing. A good way to finish up on Siobhan, again, I don't know who said it because I never know who says it, but it's good communication is as stimulating as black coffee and just as hard to sleep after.
Oh yeah, I get that completely. I've had that experience after some of our conversations, Eileen, I have to say.
Or on a good way or a bad way?
Oh no, always stimulating. Always stimulating.
Like the coffee. Well, for our followers and for those who listen to our recordings, we'd love to know what you think of them. Are you finding them stimulating? Are you enjoying them? Is there anything else that you would like us to talk about? Please just we'll happily try to oblige.
Yeah. Right. And do communicate with us. That's what we're here for.
And communicate your needs with us.
Eileen, take care. Enjoy the coffee.
You too. See you. Bye.